Hey, what's up guys? Brad with Squared Away every day, and today we are going to be talking about is the Tesla Model Y performance, specifically the performance model, but a lot of this will carry over to the Model Y. Is it still the best overall electric vehicle on the market today in 2023? Now, even 12 months ago, we didn't have as many competitors as we do today in the EV segment. And so today we're going to be covering, is it still king of the EVs in my particular opinion? If you like this kind of content, please go ahead and give me a like, give me a sub, and let's hop into it. Okay, so the question is, should you even really consider buying a Model Y with all the different competition that we have, whether it's going to be a Mercedes or a Porsche or a Audi or a Rivian or a Chevy or a GMC? There's a lot of different electric vehicles being made these days, and a lot of them are actually very, very good. So what makes the Model Y even a good contender to still buy that particular vehicle? Well, the first one is going to be I was going to say range, but it's actually the Supercharged Network is what it's going to be. And so when we talk about the Supercharged Network, this is it's a crucial point of owning electric vehicles, being able to charge on the go. Now, I know there's a lot of you out there, myself included, who really don't need to use the Supercharged Network that often. But when we do need to use it, we really need to use it, and it just is what it is. You need to be able to fuel up that vehicle, whether it's electricity or an internal combustion engine. You have to be able to fuel that easily and efficiently, and the Supercharged Network is second to none when we talk about doing both of those things. Now, whether we're going across the country on a cross-country road trip, or we're just driving a little bit more than often and we need to just charge the car up to make sure that we have enough charge for the following day or days, the Tesla Supercharged Network does a really good job at trip planning. So when we travel across the country, it'll let you know as you're traveling across the country how many spots are going to be open when you're going to that charger. It'll let you know if any of the actual stalls are down for maintenance or if they're broken. It'll let you know the power that you're going to be I shouldn't say exposed to, but it'll let you know how many kilowatts is going to be available at that particular charge station. And so it gives you a lot of information that you actually need as an EV owner. Now, it's a little bit different than if you're just to go, let's say you drive an internal combustion engine vehicle. You can go to any given gas station and get 87, 91, well, maybe not 87 in certain states, but you can get 91, you can get premium gas, you can get crappy gas. But you don't have that option at just any old charger for electric vehicles. So it is important for you to know what you're getting yourself into if you're going to make that destination, how many chargers are actually going to be available, and if any of them are actually broken or not. So it is a big factor there, and I would say the biggest reason to still jump into a Model Y or a Model Y performance is going to be the Supercharged Network. Now, the second one is going to be range. Range is obviously equally important, and I think personally speaking, you really shouldn't be looking at getting an electric vehicle for just daily use unless it has at least a 300-mile EPA rating on it. And if it doesn't have at least 300 miles, to me personally, I think that vehicle is going to be kind of a pain in the ass to own. So if it doesn't have 300 miles of EPA rated range, I'm probably just going to go ahead and pass on that particular vehicle, because the reality is, if you put a different set of like all-season tires on it, it's going to affect the range. If you drive a little bit more aggressively, it's going to affect the range. If you're driving in the cold, it's going to affect the range. And so that 300 miles isn't exactly 300 miles. You're not really going to be hitting that 300-mile range or 333 miles or whatever it is on that particular vehicle, because there's variables. What's the grade that you're going to be driving on that day, the majority of the day? And just there's a lot of different stuff. How windy is it? There's a lot of different factors when it comes into the actual range you're going to be getting out of your vehicle. And so 300 miles is kind of the bottom for me. Now, I've recently looked at different vehicles like the Audis, the e-tron, like little crossover SUVs and stuff like that, and they just didn't quite have the range that I was looking for. I've looked at vehicles like the Ioniq 5, and the Ioniq 5 in rear-wheel drive has like a pretty good range. I think it's like 300 miles, but once you start to drop down into like the all-wheel, it's sub 300 miles. Now, there are vehicles still out there, like the Mercedes EQS, like the SUV crossover variant style, and that one is projected to have a very good range on it, but the price is quite a bit higher. So we're talking about the best overall vehicle and best overall electric vehicle for your money. And so let's go ahead and move into the price segment. And recently Tesla took every vehicle that they make and they chopped them down in price. And so maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, it was going to cost you around $75,000 for a performance Model Y or a Model Y Performance. Now it's going to cost you around $56,000 for that same Model Y Performance. So there's been a huge slash on the prices of the Teslas. And I think these days, like honestly, being right around that $50K for maybe just like a Model Y or $56K for a Model Y Performance is an incredible value. When you talk about a vehicle specifically in the Model Y Performance, and you talk about the utility of it, the back cargo area is really very generous for the size of that vehicle and how easy that vehicle is to drive. But then at the same time, you can seat 5 people in there. I would say 4 adults comfortably, but you could definitely do 2 adults and 2 kiddos in there easily. And then all at the same time, you can go 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. No, 3.5 seconds. 3.5 seconds. That is really, really good. And you're doing that for $56K for a brand new vehicle. I think that's awesome. I think that's an incredible value. It's not the cheapest EV on the market, but I think for what you're getting there, for the utility, for the 0 to 60 time, and just the capability of that particular vehicle, I think it's really, really good. And then finally, last but not least, and probably the most important aspect of owning a vehicle in general is going to be the safety aspect of it. Hands down, Teslas are the safest vehicles around. They just are. Teslas have been doing the electric vehicle thing for the longest of most major car manufacturers, and they really have it dialed in specifically on the safety side. And so when we talk about that, that's a huge deal when we're talking about just wanting to own an electric vehicle in general and having the safest vehicle for you and your family. You're going to want to go ahead and pick a Tesla, and the Model Y is just another reason to do so. Not only that, let's touch on this too. Since Tesla has been in the game for such a long time, they've been able to really dial in on a lot of stuff that maybe isn't so great on the EVs, like the range in cold weather, for example. So they have heat pumps built into most any Tesla after like 2021-ish. I think all Teslas really have heat pumps in them. Before that, it was just the Model Ys from like 2020 on. But anyway, I digress. Going forward, any new Tesla that you're going to buy is going to have a heat pump in it, which significantly reduces the amount of parasitic drain from cold weather environments that you're going to have on your battery. So back in the day, I used to have a 2018 Tesla Model 3 Performance, a P3D minus to be specific, if you know what that is. Awesome, comment down below if you know what I'm talking about. But a P3D minus specifically, or that particular vehicle, I would get maybe 15 to 20% degradation in battery. Now, it did make a difference if I was parked indoors or if I was parked outdoors overnight. It did make a big difference there, but I would see about 15 to 20% degradation of that battery's range if it was significantly cold out. So that was a problem. Now, fast forward to my newer vehicles like my Model Y Performance and my Model X Plaid and even my Model S Plaid. Those all have heat pumps in them. Those particular vehicles, I don't see that big of a variance when it's cold. Now, I do park indoors. I don't leave the car outdoors all night and then go to drive it or anything like that. But just leaving it indoors, I have like a 2% variance when it's cold out. So it's really not that big. I can't really speak for people that have to leave their cars outdoors all the time, but I can tell you it's going to be much better than if you didn't have a heat pump. So should you still buy a Model Y Performance, or I guess just even a Model Y in 2023? Is it still the king of just being the best overall electric vehicle and honestly the best valued electric vehicle on the market? Yes, hands down, it certainly is. It's an incredible vehicle, especially at that $55,000, $56,000 price point. That is an incredible value. And if you can go ahead and get in on, well, we'll talk about tax credits in the next video, and we'll talk about, are the Teslas even eligible for the 2023 federal tax credit? We'll talk about that in the next vid, hopefully coming up in the next like 3, 4, 5 days, something like that. But anyway, if you like this kind of content, please go ahead and give me a like, give me a sub, and we'll see you in the next one.